Yeah, hello everybody, welcome to another day. Today I want to talk about something very interesting. Most of the time when we, as human, we tend to step out in order to, we have this dream, we have this vision, we have this business that we want to go into. And most of the time it's often born in our heart and we want to do anything possible, we want to sacrifice everything, close the bank in order to just actualize that dream. And somewhere along the line, you start looking as if, things are not working out as fast and as quickly as expected. And there's a tendency to, you might even ask yourself, tell yourself that maybe it was all a mistake and maybe I was never meant to do this. But there is something that I found out that I think is worth looking into. I studied I came across a particular animal, called the tardigrade. The name of the animal is called tardigrade. Actually, it's a microscopic animal. It's about 1 millimeter or 1.5 millimeter. So most of the time you have to look through a microscope in order to see it. Now there is something unique about this particular creature. The thing about it is this: when the environment becomes very hostile, when the heat becomes too much, when the land becomes dry, radiation becomes too much, the tardigrade switches into a system, a state of mind, a state of existence called cryptobiosis. It slips into the cryptobiosis state, and what happens at that state is this: it can, once the tardigrade moves into the cryptobiosis state, it can go on for 30 years without water, without food, and you'll be so surprised that this creature will still be alive. And after 30 years or more, when it comes, when the environment begins to change and things becomes easier, it's more like a resurrection. Once it becomes rehydrated, it comes through like a resurrection state. A creature that seemed to be dead suddenly start coming back to life now after 30 years of what seems like death. Now most of the time people go through phases in business, and it might be difficult for man to move into a cryptobiosis state, but when the creature is in the cryptobiosis state, all metabolism is shut down, eating system and all of that, it becomes dormant for that period. It doesn't move around, it doesn't do in order for it to continue to survive, it has to switch off all biological system in order to exist at that form. It becomes curved like a ball. Now sometimes business operates in that same light. The fact that things are not moving as fast as you intended, you're doing everything that you have to do and it seems as if it's not working. Somebody said a long time ago that everything that you need in order to get the business running, that in order to get your vision running, is on the other side of it is not working. If you can just be strong enough to pass through that state of what seemed like difficulty, of what seemed like a dead end, if you can just be strong enough to weather the storm, to go through that state, like the tardigrade switch into the cryptobiosis state, it comes out of its metabolic form of existence, feeding all the biological system and all of that. It suspends all that motion, and existence, survival become the important thing to do. Now sometimes business comes to that level that all you just have to do is make sure you survive. You don't have to quit, you don't have to give up. There's always something that you need to know, and once you can know whatever information that is missing and you can inject it, like I said earlier, the tardigrade, once the environment begins to change, once it connects with water, once it becomes rehydrated, a creature that has been dead for what seemed like 30 years suddenly comes back to life and starts living. Now people will call that impossible. Everybody will say that it is not possible. No creature can survive 30 years without food or water. But here it is, the tardigrade, the scientists have proved it, that the tardigrade can survive for 30 years without food and water. And once the environment changes, once it picks up that the environment has changed, now there's water, now the environment is friendly, it starts growing. Most business too go through that state where things are difficult and it's more like shutting down become the next thing to do. But the entrepreneur is the one that will now decide, okay, fine, what do I need to do? How do I position myself? How do I go through the storm without shutting down the dream? Being able to hold on to what you believe. Being able to hold on to what you believe, irrespective of how difficult things are appearing on the other side. Let me just borrow wisdom from Ray Kroc today. There was a time when, it seemed like the two brothers, that the McDonald brothers were becoming too slow for Ray Kroc. He bought them out. Now, Howard Schultz went through the same thing when he was starting Starbucks. The entrepreneurs, the people that own the business, they seem to not be working as fast as they wanted. He bought them out. So sometimes you just need to hold on to what you believe. When it seems as if it's not working, hold on to what you believe. It's only a matter of time. If the tardigrade can come back to life after 30 years, believe me, it's only a matter of time before your business picks up. Thank you very much. Bye.